Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are going to talk about Copilot 101, the basics. I know we've done several AI related webinars and produced content about it. And I realized pretty quickly that it was mainly entertaining myself. A few people, definitely thought it was very exciting and very technical, but that's not what we really need. I know for a fact that I've encouraged all of my own team members to watch this so that they can get more and more familiar with Copilot. Copilot is an amazing technology. It is not what people think. I've learned a lot over the past, I'd say, 3 months. There's a lot of feelings about Copilot. Maybe it's terrible. I used it a long time ago and I'll never use it again. I only like ChatGPT. I only like Claude. But Copilot is really a front end for multiple agents, multiple technologies. And I want to use this webinar to talk about how Copilot works, how you can use all some of the different features, and then actually do a workshop where you guys can pick a topic and we can just dive in. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try to spend less than 10 minutes on this Copilot 101 section. And in the future, in future webinars, we're going to dive more deeply into each of these areas. Especially excited about the Copilot notebooks. Of course, custom agents are very exciting. But due to feedback, this is Copilot 101. And I'm actually going to start with a poll. So, Becca, if you would fire up our poll, there's two questions. What type of Copilot user are you? Are you a beginner? You think you know what's going on, or I'm an expert? So vote away. I want to understand what the customer base is looking like. And then, of course, thoughts on Copilot. I have it, but prefer Claude. It's okay. I love it. Used it a while ago and will never use it again. Let me know your thoughts there. I will say that when Copilot first came out, at Amshot, we were not using it very often. We had a ChatGPT team account, and it wasn't until ChatGPT, I think it was maybe 5.1, was available inside of Copilot that you could select it and use it, that we switched from the ChatGPT team environment to Copilot. And now that we have that, we are dedicated to using just Copilot in the office. We do have some power users. I am a power user, and so I do have a subscription to ChatGPT corporate, team subscription, and the same for Claude. And some of the people in my office do as well. If you need that latest feature or you want to test some different things back and forth, we do allow it. So I'm going to dive right in. And the first thing is chat with Copilot. You're definitely familiar with this user interface, right? This is what almost all of the LLM platforms look like. What's cool is you can switch. You can pick Opus, you can pick ChatGPT, you can pick different models all in one tool. And that's one thing that I want to talk about today is you don't have to hop around. So a little prompt coaching, a little trailing question is always good. One of the features is the web search. So you'll see this was an internal or work search that I just ran. And it's going to look and see, hey, that's a good idea. You've got a Copilot 101 PowerPoint you've already done. What's work mode versus web mode? And that's a perfect example. If I wanted to do a web search, then it would not look at my files. It would not look at my OneDrive. It would just be searching the web for this information. So a lot of times people get frustrated because they're typing something into Copilot and it pops up their calendar entries. And like, I'm not interested in that. Go to the web tab, search the web if you don't need that internal context. You can then also select in this purple area right here, you can select temporary chats, ones that aren't going to be recorded in your memory. And then the three dots allow you to do really some advanced things. One of them is create scheduled prompts, which we'll talk about in a future episode. But they're incredibly powerful scheduled prompts. So search with Copilot. This is a great feature. People have always been searching for things in their office, right? They've always been looking for a document that they can't find, or maybe an email that they're looking for. Well, this unified search capability searches through all of those things all at once. You can search by a person. It's so powerful as a way to locate information in what are generally pretty disorganized business file systems. I love being able to filter by person and by to see what we've done together, or I know Chris was working on something. How can I check this out? And the best part about Microsoft is it knows what I can see. It knows my permissions. It knows what I should be able to see. If you have your documents shared correctly, this is going to reflect that. It won't let me see sensitive items that I'm not allowed to see. This is a big vulnerability, and why a lot of what I've been talking about over the last 3 months is so important, or last year is so important. You do want that context library, or context layer, that governance layer, because this can surface sensitive information. If you're not paying attention, this very powerful tool in a Copilot enabled environment, or a Claude enabled environment, or a ChatGPT enabled environment, if you link up your Microsoft 365 to your Claude and you haven't done the due diligence, you haven't done any Copilot readiness, people might be able to see things that they shouldn't, and they'll rapidly be able to find them. The library, this is a newer section in Copilot, something that's really exciting. This is an area where pieces of information that Copilot has generated for you live. So you can find pages that you've created in Copilot, and you can also see images. And so I just want to show you a quick image creation that I'm going to do, and it just takes a few seconds. You don't need an image creation tool. You have this. In the offices now, people have so many options. There are so many ways to use AI, empower your team to have AI. You can get third-party image creation tools. If you use Copilot correctly, if you have your brand assets right here, you can upload your logos, all of these things. Your team can create what you need without another website to log into, without starting another subscription with something that you have to configure and manage and set up. So Copilot is a place where there are multiple technologies, multiple different image generators. You can use Claude, you can use ChatGPT. There's a couple other models that are in there as well, but don't manage so many tools. People are getting worn out by all of the different AI tools that companies are implementing. This is an exciting one. So custom agents, I know people want to learn about those. They want to understand what custom agents are. This is one that I created for myself. And so this is Flint. He is an executive coach that understands my personality type, my leadership personality types. And I created this myself. It's not published in the environment. This is just an agent that is pre-context. It is ready. It's built to answer specific questions for me. So I don't have to go to just a regular Copilot and think, hey, you are an executive coach. My personality type is this. I'm working on getting this project over the finish line, and I'm having trouble collaborating with these two people. This is their personality types. If you build these agents, it's really in capturing all of that context up front so you can have rapid conversations. And here's a very quick agent that I built earlier today. So you start, it's just like a ChatGPT agent build. You just give it a prompt and it'll give it some instructions that you can refine, and then you can give it knowledge. So you can give it specific files, or if you have a governance layer in your organization, you can point to that governance layer and it will be knowledgeable as to your company's policies, procedures, things like that. So creating an agent is very easy. It's also easy to rabbit hole in. So be careful. These tools are tools. They're not toys. I'm definitely coaching people on, hey, how much time should you be spending on this? How much of this do we need to be spending time on? Is there an ROI on this? So be careful. They are tools, not toys. Notebooks are my favorite feature of Copilot. They're very similar to projects in Copilot and Claude. What's neat about them is that you can collaborate. So it's like an agent. It's like a custom agent that you're building, but you're building with a group of people in your office. So this is a quarterly priority that we are working on at Amshot to better manage our backlog of work that we're doing. So as you can see, I can share this notebook with team members in my organization. It has things like progress tracker in it. We'll see in a second. It's got the priority plan, which includes the major milestones for the priority. And everything that is done in any of these areas on the left and any documents that we upload as references, everyone in the notebook can see. And when you have a conversation with this notebook, so if you go and just start a new chat, you can then collectively grow that knowledge and increase the capabilities of what you guys are working on. So here is a look at the priority plan, and then we're going to create a PowerPoint. And so I want to bring my team members up to speed on what I've done. Go quick create PowerPoint. I'm going to fast forward through this in the back end, but you can see it's using Claude to build this because of the interface. So project team members, how many slides, how do I want to balance it, what do I want it to look like? This is very much the Claude X for building a PowerPoint. And it's going to build me this PowerPoint. It's using all of this context over here, our progress tracker, our priority plan, the mind maps that we created to automatically build a PowerPoint. So it has a ton of context for success. And this is probably my favorite feature of Copilot right now is the notebook area. So we can add references, we can add other notebooks, we can add files to this notebook for people that are working together. All right. So I took a little longer than I wanted. That was a very high level of what is possible inside Copilot. So the next part of this is, Becca, I want you to put up our second poll because I want to see if there's any areas that people would like to work on today in our presentation. And you can ask questions. If anybody has any questions, go ahead. All right. Well, my enthusiasm for notebooks has caught on. Everybody wants to talk about notebooks, which is awesome. All right. Would anybody like to ask a question? So go ahead and type in a question. Kit, that's a good question. So we do not use EOS at Amshot, but I am pretty familiar with the concept. So I'm going to see if I can. I've gone ahead and allowed you to talk. If you want to unmute yourself, you can ask me any questions, and I will start building a notebook that I think that you could use.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm excited about notebooks. I think that's really cool to have a place to put everything. And our group uses EOS, and we have for the last couple of years. So I'd love to be able to take some of the information from the big spreadsheet that we use, because we don't use a CRM or anything like special software for EOS. We built our own spreadsheet, and so we populate that every week to do our weekly meetings. So I'd love for the notebook to do like a scheduled prompt where it pulls some of that information for us. And so it retains that information, and then we can use it to create like text for board meetings or even like quarterly evaluations for the whole team to say, this is what we've been working on, here's some trends, and do some strategic planning with it.
Yeah, that's a great use case for this. So you would go in and you would create a new notebook, which I just did. Then you want to add anybody you want to collaborate with. So you would add members of your team. So let's say Ian's on this call with this. I'm going to add Ian. And so now he's invited. He's a member inside the notebook. What you can do is you can add references. And so these are files in your organization. And what you want to do is you want to have them be somewhere long-term where they're going to reside. So when I talk about a governance layer, and I know I've mentioned it a couple times, it's basically setting up the location in your organization where things are going to live and then giving that information the right kind of context. You don't have to have that to work, but it just would help with scalability and doing things rapidly. So you would just upload that spreadsheet here. Most likely it'd be in your OneDrive or somewhere in SharePoint, so you can either find it or upload it. And then everyone and everything, you would just leave it there. And so as changes are made in that spreadsheet, the notebook always knows what's going on. So you don't need to have it, every once in a while it's always live. And so it's always understanding going on. Now, you have kind of like a document you're creating to show progress, or is it just making the changes in the PowerPoint in the spreadsheet?
So yes, we do have milestones and things that like rocks and things that we're trying to hit, and different people on our team are working on different things. So I'm also curious because some of the information gets pulled from like resources like that we have. Can it do that for us, or are we still going to have to go in and manually pull some of that information?
So for the notebook, for this beginning of what you're trying to accomplish,
Hmm.
I would see that you would just be exporting like a PDF. And so any of those other reports that you need to pull, those would be more static, kind of point in time. And you would put the date and you would say, these are this report from this date. Now, what you're talking about is basically the next level. If you can get something in a notebook that is functioning, that is going to allow you to get more ROI or run more efficient meetings, then you have basically a proof case for a more sophisticated agent. And so the agents that I talked about building inside of here are ones that you can share internally, but they're basic agents, ones that you building ChatGPT right now and inside Copilot. They're not the agents that are developed by the business for the organization. So if you could use a notebook, use it for 3 months, quarters, and you could proof this out. If you don't need anything more, if the PDFs are working, you can stay in this notebook. But if you say like, I do need an API, I do need to call data from a third party source, that's when you would want to reach out to an organization like us and say like, hey, we want a sophisticated agent that is running scheduled prompts, double checking our in data from multiple sources. And then that's an agent that we would publish, and we would publish it in your Microsoft 365 and your Teams for your group. So that's really why I like these notebooks, is because they're kind of playground for people to prove out use cases for bigger capabilities. So that was a very long-winded way to answer your question.
Well, it makes sense, and I appreciate that because I think that's where we get stuck is, you know, so much of it is the actual use of the different things that we're doing. And then it's like, okay, now this is just as labor intensive as like we were doing before. So we've created more work for ourselves when that's not the intention. Like we want it to be easier so we can spend more time doing thoughtful, like work on our
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah.
An organization like yours to be able to put something like that together as far as like wise, like we were talking about that, like what would the time commitment look like? Is that like a 10-hour project? Is it like week-long project? Like just even ballparking it, thinking like you need to pull from like different websites and create an agent for you and do everything that you're talking about, like a little project, or that's a big project?
That would be a pretty big project.
Okay.
The subject matter expert that has deep knowledge about us, and I'm going to, this agent, right? This team member that you want to bring on is, aware of your organization, about all of the team members and your goals, has backstory, has context, has all of that capability. If you want to build that, you're building maybe 80% of your context layer to solve one problem. And so, in where we see this journey is more of, hey, let's sit down with you. Let's understand your organization. Let's build out a capability map or an idea of what the different things are, because it is incredible. Microsoft wants you to be able to only have AI agents, but run automations. They really want you to save money. So if you create an automation like this PowerPoint, and 36 data points from another third party, put them into this and or into this spreadsheet and generate a summary, an executive summary, and a PowerPoint, right? Like you want those, not so much the thought. There's a little bit of thought in there, but you want those automations. You want the data pull. You want to cut down on that time. Microsoft is so excited about it that they are putting a calculator in. So when you go to an automation and Power Automate, it actually has a calculator. It says like, how much is the person's time worth? How much does this automation usually cost? And it will calculate out your ROI for every time it runs and let you know, hey, just saved you $2,000. And so, Sure, you can go cut deep to a really important work process and dive really deeply into it and maybe build a context layer or maybe just solve that one problem. But if you want a holistic solution, it's engage with us, understand your pain, then we can give you ROI. We can say, like, hey, this one's probably going to save you this much time. This automation is going to save you this much time. And this automation is only accessible to you as a small and medium business because now we have built an agent that can analyze the work that's being done. So large businesses have been running automating processes for a long time because they've had custom software developers, they've been writing logic, they've been doing machine learning even, but it was costing them hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so, and understanding your employee base and what they're doing. So how do you find that money is where we generally want to look first. For an engagement of 20-person company that was a client of ours, initial starting out is about $5,000.
Yeah, helpful. Okay. I have to hop off early, so I'm sad to leave, but
Oh no,
I
it's okay.
really appreciate the time and just giving that context. That's really helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, Chris, my pleasure. All right, do we have any other questions? Oh yeah, you had one. What was your question, Ian? Let's see. Is not going to forget the contact line. My chat is a long period of time. Yes. So that is a really important part of the notebook is as you're working and you have these chat conversations and you are creating deliverables inside a notebook, you can publish it. So think you have a goal, you have a chat in a notebook about a specific part of a project or a specific part of a priority that you're working on or a top rock. Things are able to collaborate around those and solve a problem, publish it as an Excel spreadsheet or a Word doc or a PowerPoint or a notebook page. And then everyone gets the benefit. Everyone working on that top rock or that priority gets the benefit of the conversation that you had. And so you do have to be diligent. You do want to curate the context for the priority. You want to make sure that what you're putting in there is good. And one of the exciting things is if you make a big change to like a priority on it, you can say, hey, where inside this notebook do I need to make changes to reflect the updated priority? And it'll tell you like, hey, on the PowerPoint on page 7, you need to change this verbiage. And on this Word doc on page 13, this paragraph. So it's helping you manage the project forward. And that would have been really valuable for Kit. So I'll have to make sure to get that information to her. All right. Any other questions, everybody?
Looks like there is another one. It says, that's awesome that Copilot incorporates different LLMs. Which LLM do you prefer for email and post drafting versus helping to create a PowerPoint presentation?
Ooh, Word docs and PowerPoints, pretty agnostic. I probably just go with auto. Uh, Pretty picky, so I'm probably typing a lot of my own content. PowerPoints, Claude is way better than any other of the models. It just has a better UX and it's double checking positioning. It's still not great. A lot coming from Microsoft. One of the probably the biggest developments is as you're building these custom agents for your organization, they're not available directly inside PowerPoint and Office and Excel. You just get generic Copilot. And so you have to context prompt them a lot. But in the next 6 months, I'm not sure on the release date, but you will be able to select a pre-programmed customized agent. So we have Ogilvy is our agent that we use for marketing in-house. And I can't wait till I can select it and make it only use Claude and make it the agent that when you're typing into Copilot, it knows the brand content. It knows where your templates are. It knows where all your logos and assets are. It knows your voice. It knows your brand guidelines, all those things. It will be incredible to have those custom agents inside of Outlook, inside of PowerPoint. So I'm really looking forward to that time. Another part is that a lot of what we're building now in this context layer with pages and notebooks is what's going to power these custom agents into the future. So really sophisticated context where the future is. So very excited about that. All right. News. My next webinar is going to be with a vendor of ours, Enforcer. They are out of Europe. They're one of Microsoft's two premier pilot platforms. So they are talking about using shadow AI, who utilization in your organization with Copilot, and how do we track that and how do we manage that? And I'll be speaking to that on June 4th at noon. Stay tuned for more invites. They are hosting the webinar, so we don't have a link to publish just yet. One last chance for questions.
I'm not seeing any other pop up.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Get out there, kick today's butt.